need some real talk. Oh, I need some real talk. Give me some of that real talk.
Today's Real Talk, the show focused on North Carolina real estate. Justin Ckezepis, Claudia Ogrizek of Compass Real Estate. Another week closer to the new year, and we're there. We're at the point where you have to start acknowledging on all of your paperwork 2025 instead of 2024. Is that a complicated thing? Because you're from Brazil. Does that matter to you at all? Or do you think about it that way? How do you think about the date and the numbers and all that growing up?
The year is fine, but I've been here for 10 years and I cannot get used to the month before the date. So whenever I'm doing that, I have to stop and think about it.
So you're used to doing smallest, small, less small.
That's the logic used throughout the world. Yes. Small, medium, and large. Date, month, and year, like everybody else. And I've been here for 10 years, which is, I think, pretty normal. My dad is from Slovenia. He moved to Brazil when he was 12. He is 75. He's 76. And he says that he still counts, like in silence, he still does like numbers and calculations in Slovenian. He barely remembers Slovenian by now, but he says that math in his mind is still Slovenian. It's easier for him to do quick calculations in Slovenian. So for me, it's the same thing. My numbers are still in Portuguese in the Brazilian way. So whenever I see, especially like the 12:10, 11:9, I'm like, okay, stop. What is this? So I guess I'll never get used to it.
Just a little bit of math. Do you find yourself doing math and transactions with your buyers?
I'm the new construction queen and I'm the Excel spreadsheet queen, which is crazy because many years ago, like 20 years ago, when I was teaching English as a foreign language, I didn't need Excel spreadsheets, so I had no idea. And then when I changed to be a finance person and manager, and in the beginning I was like, what is this? Now my life is spread all over like I use Excel spreadsheets for everything in my life. Everything.
And then so when you bust out the spreadsheet for your buyers and your sellers and you say, hey, here's what's going on, how do they react to math? Like, do you carry the math like weight in the transaction for people?
I think it's extremely important to show people both. It doesn't matter the side, but because it is for most people the most expensive transaction they'll ever have in their lives, the most expensive purchase, the highest sale they'll ever have in their lives other than kids. So I make sure they understand, and I think I do have a very easy to understand way to show them. And not only that, I show them, I'm like, look, do you clearly understand? I go through it. So for buyers, net sheet, so they know how much they want to walk away with and understand each, instead of like the whole closing disclosure or ALTA, which is full of too many numbers, I kind of summarized everything and show them how much, everything that matters. Same thing with buyers, and same thing with buyers. Not that I'm a financial advisor, not that I am their loan officer, but I do understand a lot about money. So let's say if they are thinking about let's say last week we had Mandy. She talked about the $10,000 in closing costs they were offering. So that you can use in many different ways. So what I do is I get the purchase price, the $10,000, and I show them after they get the pre-approval and we know the interest rates. I say, hey, this is if we use the $10,000 just for closing costs. This is going to pay monthly. This is if you buy down the rate for 30 years. This is if you buy down for 2 years. And I show them when things start making sense, and then they make the decision. I don't think many agents do this. I honestly don't think many agents, with all due respect, have the ability to do it. So it's a good thing that I have finance background. Again, it's just a way to show them. But I do tell them after I talk to them and show the difference, I'm like, now you go back to your loan officer and you confirm all the numbers because they have all the details. But this is basically what you could have. And then they check.
I don't think a lot of people realize how much of an if-then equation and how much it can shift a transaction when you do find out, okay, exactly what the interest rate is going to be, or exactly what the tax bill is going to look like from an escrow perspective, at least for the first 12 months with a lender, or, hey, let's add in the HOA fees, or let's consider the age of these mechanical systems of the homes, and if you had to write a check, right? And those types of financial principles. And so is it just seem like a deeper level relationship that you tend to lean into with clients? Is that really what it comes down to?
Always. For me, it's not, yes, this is how I make my living. It's selling houses. But for me, it's extremely important that people truly understand what it doesn't matter if you are approved for $1 million, if you're not okay with the monthly payment, or if the monthly payment will make you have to not have fun with your family. This is not the house you want. So this is a conversation that I think is extremely important. It's not about, but if they buy, so they are approved to up to $1 million. And if they buy $1 million house, I'm going to make more money. This is not what I want. This is what I want is them happy with the house, happy with the payment, and again, have a fuzzy feeling of thankfulness and joy when they think of the process and what I helped them with. I don't want to ever have clients say, oh my God, what have I done? Where was Claudia when I am? And yes, I'm kind of even bossy about it. I'm very frank. I'm not saying that of course, they make the decision, but when they make the decision, they're very aware of what they are getting into. So it's not if I think, and I'm honest, if I think they're making a mistake, if I think they're pushing and they're going to, not how, but even if they are house poor, if they would be house poor, I am very clear to say, guys, think about it. This means no vacation, no restaurant, no movie, are you sure you need a house this big or this expensive? Why don't you start with a lower price home, stay for 2 or 3 years, use the equity, buy a new one, keep the same monthly payment because you use the equity to put down more money. And I'm happy to say that most clients, I think, trust me and listen to me. And they know that, yes, I want to sell a house, but they also know that I do care and I'm not going to push or try to make money quickly. It's like get this house, put an offer, let's go next. They know I don't do that.
You know what you do push people to do? Maintain
the house. I do. And I wish people really listen to me. It's crazy how hard it is for some people to understand that it's not a joke when I say you have to maintain the house. I push, I talk, I repeat, I go crazy about it. And it's still some people, unless they have water flowing or not power, no power in the house, or I don't know, they think it's magic.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll listen to you this year because we're not even close to the coldest of cold times. And, I don't know if it's related to cold or not. Today, your Maintenance Monday. We'll find that out later on. Maintenance Monday. Got to take a look and see what people should be taking care of because you want that value to keep going up. Well, part of it is you got to take care of the house. Yeah. We'll do that. Also, new construction queen, also now math queen, the future of numbers. What does it look like in the marketplace? Do rates go up? Do they go down? I don't know if anybody really knows that, but what's the sentiment in the market? We're going to talk about that. Buyers and sellers, who's going to win out in 2025? Who won in 2024? We'll talk about that too.
That's the question.
The year-end recap. That's what we're doing. Thanks for hanging out with us. Today's Real Talk, Justin Ckezepis, Claudia Ogrizek of Compass Real Estate. More as soon as we come back. Today's Real Talk, the show focused on North Carolina real estate. Justin Ckezepis, Claudia Ogrizek of Compass Real Estate, already known as the new construction queen, now the math queen, and making sure that buyers and sellers look at the math in a transaction. Part of that math involves interest rates. As we got closer to the end of 2024 here, Claudia, rates, I don't think they pivoted as hard as at one point in the year everyone thought they would. Am I wrong for thinking that?
You are absolutely right. Everybody said it would come to about 5.5. We never saw it come below 6 something. And now they say it might come to around 5.75 first quarter, second quarter. So we'll see. We'll see. I was very excited earlier in the year, waiting for the end of the year, close to the election, things would calm down. 5.5, it never happened. But at least we're not at 8 something, which was very rough, very rough.
And so since the rate hasn't come down, people maybe you talked to, let's say 6 months ago, whether buyers or sellers, they were saying, hey, we're a buyer, we've got money, but we want to wait for those rates to cool down. Sellers, we want to wait for those rates to cool back down because we got 2.5%, 3%, and we don't really know where we want to go at this point. Are those conversations still happening today?
Yes, I still think that most of sellers are at the low interest rate, not any seller, but the ones that have the 3, 2 something, 3.5 are not selling unless they kind of have to. So unless life changed in a way that they need to. So relocation, divorce, death, baby, things like, how do you say, two families, two divorced people getting together with kids. Anyway,
Blended families.
Blended families. Unless there's something that is making them sell and move, they will keep living in the house with low interest rates, because I do understand, and again, I always say I'm one of them, it doesn't make sense. Like when you pay so little and the house is working, why would you do it? So I do think those sellers are still holding on to the houses and only moving when needed. And the buyers, I talk to my buyers all the time, and by far most listen to me, and they don't wait, because I'm like, you're just wasting time and money. Houses, no matter what, in our area, I always like to say, we're talking about Charlotte, Lake Norman, North Carolina, super hot, super attractive, our area, houses, prices, because people are like, every client, every buyer comes, oh, I think the market is going to crash. Oh, I think the prices are coming down. They're not coming down. They keep going up. So you can pray for it. It hasn't happened. I don't think it's going to happen. We are still a very attractive market. And I do think you have to do it. And then, I know my loan officers will be mad at me. I'm not a huge fan of refinance. I don't like it. Unless it's an emergency, I'm not a fan. But you can refinance.
Or if you're using it for investment purposes, some people do that play in that space as well, to a degree.
Yes.
But it's very intentional.
Yes.
Very
so
intentional.
For that, I'm all for it. But it's not why most people do it. Most people do it to
get cash,
pay debt that they made when many times they don't need it. For me, refinancing should be for emergencies. Like a kid in the hospital, you need the money. Go for it. Use your equity for something that you need. And then, of course, and that's one of the things I am against refinancing. Like, use it as a kind of a savings that you have, the safety blanket in your own home. But what I see is that most people do it to pay off debt that they spent with silly things, like new cars, too many clothes, and here's the Grinch. I know Christmas was last week, but don't buy things if your financial situation don't allow you to. And I think it's okay. Here's the parent in me. It's okay for you if your situation is not the best. Talk to your kids. They have to know things get good and bad, and sometimes you have to really wait and be patient and give your parents a break. I think you have to be honest with the kids. And unfortunately, I see too many times people that don't pay attention to that, or don't want to let kids know that they are in a rough time. They keep spending as if they were making money. They keep spending as, having a new car every 2 years. Why? And then they use the money to pay that. And then years later, when they are ready to sell the house, there's no equity. And they didn't make, and many times, because they're not paying attention, they're not listening, they're like, how come? I'm like, because you spent the last few years refinancing your house every 2 or 3 years, resetting the whole loan and owing the whole amount 30 years again. And I think people either don't know, and I do tell my clients, or they pretend they don't know. I don't know. It's just a thing. I wish people paid more attention and used the equity as a safety blanket for an emergency.
It's certainly something to be mindful of, because for a seller that gets to the closing table and let's say they're saying, hey, I'm going to use some of this money to go toward X, Y, Z and for the next transaction, those back-to-back scenarios can present unique opportunity or unique situations, because a lot of times, okay, if it's paying down debt, well, they need to sell the house first to pay down the debt, but then they want to buy simultaneously too. That gets complicated with lenders and financing and all that kind of stuff. Do sellers bring up those, prepping conversations like that all ever? Or is it more you find yourself having to explore and really think through it to protect your client sometimes?
I try to find out. Again, I don't like crossing the line of what the loan officer does, but I do try to have at least the first conversation so they know what's coming up. Because I think many times people don't realize how the whole thing, that there's no magic. If you have debt, you have to pay off debt. If you owe something, it's going to happen at closing, and the loan officer will tell you what to do with the proceeds. And people many times are not paying attention, or they think that they can have high credit card debt or car or whatever. And they find out that many times to be able to be approved for a loan, they'll have to take care of the debt with the proceeds from the sale. So I think financial, and by the way, the thing about Math Queen, it's kind of crazy. I hated math in school. And I still think I hate how math is taught in school.
When you got your broker license, was the HUD 1 still on the exam?
Yes.
Or the closing disclosure?
And I didn't understand why. Why I don't think you have to be careful. I'm like, really? This is complicated. You should not be an agent. So if you think that math, because when they talked about it, they're like, oh, the math, it's the hardest part of the test. I'm like, oh, no, not again. I hate math. And then when I found out what they were talking about, I'm like, really? This is hard for you? But I hated the math just going back to school, because it's probably if my dad heard the show and understand, because he's not good at, he can't communicate in English. He was like, no, she's not, because I hated math. Because I think in school they teach, for me, useless math. They don't teach finance.
Checkbook
they don't teach
math.
Checkbook. Learn how much you earn, how much you're supposed to save, how much you're okay about. They don't teach that. They teach you all the stuff you'll never use in your life unless you're an engineer. And I still say the same. I still hate school math. But I love the math I use today with my clients, because it's the everyday, it's your life, it's how you build wealth, generational wealth, how you can probably enjoy your life and leave something behind for your kids and your grandchildren. So anyway.
All right, so looking forward into 2025 then, because 2024 didn't bring down interest rates. The math is still the same, it seems like. In some cases, it's worse because the supply is arguably lower now than it even was 6 months ago. And so these buyers who were sidelined then, some of which are still sidelined now, looking at 2025, is there hope on the horizon? Or should we just switch to nobody knows? Just look for what your opportunity is now.
I think so. I think we can't really predict as of now what's going to happen. So again, if it makes sense, just don't, if you're home, if you're listening to the show right now, don't try to guess what's right for you. Talk to an agent, talk to a lender. It's a free conversation. And hopefully if you get a good professional, feel free to call me. They will help you. And then they'll help you figure out, this is the moment, you're good to go, or no, you need to figure things out first with your job, with your dad, with whatever. Don't try to guess, and stop wasting money if you don't, because it's some people like it, study, pay attention, listen to podcasts, and know a lot. I had people come to an open house the other day, and they knew they were talking LVT and interest rate and buy down rates, so they really knew about it. They're like, we love it. We learn as much as we can. But most people don't. So don't try to guess. I have so many people that say, oh, I can't buy a house. I can't get approved. I'm like, have you ever talked to anyone? No, I just know. I'm like, how do you know if you're not a loan officer? Let them take a look at your situation and let them know if you are ready, and if you're not ready, how to prepare everything, because same thing. Some people think that they have to take care of student loan, and many times, no, student loan is fine. You should take care of your credit card or your whatever, your car lease or something. So talk to people. It's a free conversation, and it's the only way to know where you stand.
It's a heavy one, though. It takes a lot of trust in a transaction. You got to have somebody who you feel like you can have these conversations with. It's very intimate and it's very personal. And so you need a broker you can trust. You need a lender who you can trust. And you can always start with Claudia Ogrizek, Compass Real Estate. Okay, look to the future on rates. We figured that one out. Let's look to the future on buyers. Are they going to win? Are they going to lose in 2025? What do you think? We'll find out. Today's Real Talk, show focused on North Carolina real estate. Justin Ckezepis, Claudia Ogrizek of Compass Real Estate. As we look to 2025, we have to remember 2024. And it was the year that interest rates didn't go back down. But 2025 is a new year. Maybe not interest rates, but there are wins for buyers and sellers, or have been throughout this entire year of 2024 as well, no matter what the interest rate is. But do buyers win in 2025? 1 year from now, we're sitting here, Claudia. Will buyers have won in 2025?
I hope so. I do. I do love working with them. I think, again, I love when people take the time and get ready and make the move. So I do hope buyers get their chance. At least since I started in the business, it's been a seller's market, so I haven't seen buyers thrive. So I do hope, in the perfect world, it will be a balanced market. I don't know if I'll ever see that. You've been, in the business forever. And did you ever see a balanced market? Could you say that?
When I started in 2012, the average days on market was somewhere between 90 and 120. Oh. That was average days on market. So when you hit that 90-day mark with a listing is when you started really having those conversations about price reduction, figuring some things out as far as, hey, because back then it was, should we go ahead and do the upgrades? Let's pivot. Let's go ahead and do the upgrades, because there was less people in 2012, at least just relative to our area, for the most part, right? Who were willing to do fixer-uppers. That HGTV phase had hit to a degree because of 2008. A lot of people got it, and then it just dumped, right? And so coming back to that, it still really wasn't there because nobody had the capital to buy. And so it took longer, and houses sat there. When I say 90 or 120 days, does that make you cringe now thinking about that?
I can't. Right now, it's about, I would say 35, 40, and I think it's crazy low and slow. I don't know.
And as of right now, it's hard to see if you're seeing 90, 120 days, it's because at this point, the market has rejected one of two things: price or condition of the property is what's going on. And so it's hard to imagine getting back to an average of 90 to 120 days. Is anything possible? Certainly.
Yes.
But it's very hard to imagine in our area.
I have all my sayings. And for me, even though people say location, I disagree with that. For me, it's price. Because even if the condition is not good, if the price is right, it will sell.
It can.
It can sell at the end of the world if the price is right.
The only reason why I say condition in the equation is for those people that no matter the price, they're not interested in taking part in a fixer-upper process.
But someone will.
Yes.
That's the thing. If the price is right, you will get the investors, or you will get those people that watched HGTV and would love to try to flip a house. I still get calls all the time of people like, can we flip? Is there an opportunity? And I always say, you are a regular person fighting against thousands of real investors with tons of cash. So can we try? Yes. Is it easy like you see on YouTube? No. Do I think it's the best strategy for regular people to start with? No. I think it's buy and hold, buy a house that makes sense, that might need a little cosmetic, nothing, paint and learn. Learn how to be an investor, learn how to be a landlord, even though I have someone manage. I don't want to deal with tenants or rules or laws. But start small, start easy. It's the same thing I have many times for first-time buyers when I tell them that I think for new construction is better. Same thing, a first-time investor, I think don't buy like a flip. Buy a house that's okay, pretty ready to be rented, become a landlord, learn how to manage that house that will eventually need things to be done. Don't go crazy. It's not easy to find reliable contractors. It's not easy to find people that will charge the fair price. And you might get hurt very easily and then think that investing is a huge mistake when it's not. It's a great thing. It's a great thing to build wealth. All the billionaires in the world are mainly real estate investors, including Justin. Just speaking on you. But it's true. Like, do safely. This is my theory, my belief. Do it slowly, safely, and see the money grow. And then maybe one day when you have some houses, then you go and flip.
Real estate, if in the investment world, the basic principle my dad always taught me, because I grew up with him in it, was you make money investing in real estate when you buy, not when you sell, because you have to buy the right property for the right price, arguably at the right time. All three of those factors being almost impossible to predict at any point in time. But when you hit it good, and it's okay. It's great when it actually works, but it's very risky. There's the other side of the equation. It can be risky.
It can be risky, and that's why when I'm talking to my clients, I always say there are ways, even though real estate is a risky market, it doesn't have to be high risk. My belief, it's like the stock market. You might, of course, the goal is to buy at the right time, but for you to really, without living the life of someone dealing with the stocks or whatever all the time, you buy and hold, and it will turn out well if you have
If you look historically across the real estate market,
it will pay off. Even if you don't buy at the perfect time, even if you don't buy the perfect house with the right cash flow, hold, keep it calm, don't get desperate if things turn out, it will, in the long term, it will be great.
Now, that's a buyer side of it, but part of it becomes, okay, we talked about the life events of sellers earlier, and that's where the risk comes into play is when you buy, if you buy at a particular point and let's say something happens to you and you have to sell, that's when you can find yourself in a different scenario. But it's unique, though, that sellers having to sell, buyers wanting to buy. There's buyers coming from other markets here to North Carolina, which has been a unique concept. Not that people haven't moved here over the years, but in 2024 in particular, the theme was consistent. People are coming to North Carolina. And here's the thing, for 2025, it doesn't look like it's going to stop.
Actually, I was at like a mastermind the other day, and two of the people, they're finance people, and they heard, I don't know if it's, but apparently it is true that the big hedge funds that had stopped, so let's say 2020, 2021, it was a cruel thing for actual buyers because these hedge funds would come and take and buy like 5,000 houses a year in our area. Last year, 2023, 2024, it came down like one of them they were talking about. I think they only bought 300. And this guy that works with them said that he got a call and say, get ready because we are coming back like with everything we got. So they do plan to buy 3,000, 4,000 houses. So the fact that the strong, huge hedge fund buyers are looking at us again and trying to buy thousands of houses says something about the market in 2025. So I do expect to not sleep much. So we'll see how it goes. But the market is saying it's going to happen again.
And we complain about it to a degree, but if you're not thriving, you're dying. And that's, again, as far as problems to have in the marketplace, well, for people who are already here, it's a good problem to have. It's just amazing trying to balance all that with the many different needs of many different clients.
Of course, it's not good for regular buyers when the competition of big investors full of cash, the threat of having those huge, full of money people against you. But it is what it is. So we have to do our best to help people and hope the sellers will kind of choose people over institutions.
And we look at the buyers and we look at the sellers. Those are the two ends of the spectrum. But there's the in-betweeners. And there's a lot of in-betweeners who are riding this wave of equity building that's happening in this marketplace, setting their sights on the future. And so 2025 is right around the corner. You got to change the 5 at the end instead of a 4. But if you're Claudia, you also have to put the day first and move it to the second spot because it's not supposed to be first here in America. Today's Real Talk, the show focused on North Carolina real estate, Justin Ckezepis, Claudia Ogrizek. Ringing in the new year into 2025. Here we come. You can't stop it. Just like you can't stop the due diligence period when it's just rolling through. The days count down. You can't stop time. You make it all the way through. For the due diligence period right now, is it aligning well with the closing date? Like, is it tight like the days between the end of due diligence and closing? Or is it more spread out? Like due diligence is still very, very short windows. Sellers don't want to give a lot of room, a lot of time for investigation, decision making. They want to lock it in beforehand. Where is it in the spectrum?
I would say most of the times, considering like a 30-day close, due diligence period runs around 15 days, so half the time. And in most cases, by far, I would say 2-week period for due diligence period, sometimes 3, closing 30 days. I still, now regular market, this is what I see in most cases.
Okay, calling that the regular market, thinking back through 2024, that 14-day kind of window, half of a contract period, we'll say, was it hard to find enough vendors or get the best of the best vendors in because of how quickly the market was moving in that time frame, or was it fairly easy to manage?
Again, it's hard because there are thousands of agents, so I am a very proactive agent. So just to give you an example, one of my listings, the buyer agent called me, talked about a few things that were some worrisome to the buyers. And it was kind of the week of the due diligence period. So she called me on Monday and the diligence period was on Thursday. And I said, look, I would like to get my contractors, the people I trust, to come take a look. And she said, I understand. It's on me. I took too long. So I'll talk to my buyers, talk to your sellers, explain. And she's like, I can tell you are very quick, proactive. So I understand. Let's see if and I got my contractors the next day to come to the house. So is it working for my clients? Yes, because we go under contract the same day, or if it's at night, like the next morning, I'm already calling everyone and I do it. I know some agents make the buyers call inspectors and schedule, which for me makes no sense. But I do it, and I do it right away. And not only that, because this is a relationship job with the clients, with the vendors. So because I have a great relationship with some, let's say, inspectors or contractors, I call them. And many times if I need to, because it's like, let's say a shorter due diligence period. I have buyers that for some reason needed a shorter due diligence period to get the house. They will change the schedule. They will work on the weekend. They will help me because we have a good relationship.
So thinking through...
And that's why the right agent matters.
And so for you, for Claudia Ogrizek, thinking forward to 2025, what are some of the goals you're setting for yourself? Because you do care deeply for representing your clients, making sure that both, whether they're buying or selling or refinancing, even that they're calling you, or maybe they're renting right now and then they're going to buy later. Again, many different relationships that you've got in the marketplace. What are you looking at for 2025? What's got you excited?
I'm going to be very honest. I do have not the same business plan as most agents would do. It's like, I want to sell, I don't know how many million or how many houses. I don't have that in my mind. It's not about number of houses or a number of calls, because I don't do that actually. But I do have different lists that I make. So I do have a 10 list for career. a 10 item list for my life, like family and my life health-wise, and one about money, investment, managing life. I haven't started the list, so
you still got time.
But I'm going to say about my 2024. Do you make lists? Do you have a plan that you?
Yeah, I mean,
but do you stop and say, okay, 2025, this is what I have to do?
I certainly have goals for outlooking, but I look at it much more of, again, it's if then equations, because sometimes life adjusts where you make a certain decision, it changes the route and you've got to adapt. But of course, absolutely, by year end goals, what's the overarching goal here?
Do you write them down? Do you have like a list? Because I have a list I look at. I have on my desk like a transparent kind of thing, and under I have my lists. So I write them down and I look at them every now and then to see. So I do put sometimes, yes, like I do put like number of houses just because I want to grow.
There's nothing wrong with quantifiable goals,
my
for
plan.
Sure.
I just don't do what the coaches want you to do. So I try to put like 10%, 10 to 15% more than the year before. Of course I want to grow. I don't need to be crazy, whatever. So I do, but I haven't put it. Last year I had, or now 2024, I did have on the list other than the number of houses, and oh my gosh, I surpassed way more than I expected, which I'm very thankful for. But I did have one to hire an assistant, which I did. I needed that. So hire an assistant, I did that. Participate in a monthly networking event because it's not my thing. I did that.
How'd that feel?
I still don't like it. And I know I do it. Actually, I did more than once a month. I do it. It's an exercise for me. It's not a natural thing for me to do it. I am an introvert. But I am doing because I think and I understand how important it is to have the relationship. Again, my inspectors, my contractors, I call them. They'll be there because of the relationship. So I know. Same thing with agents. Something else I had on my list was to go to a convention. I did that. I'm going again to a bigger one in 2025.
You're on the convention circuit now?
Yes.
Before you were anti-convention.
I'm trying. I'm challenging myself. So I did the first one. And yes, Claudia wanted to just ride the bike around Charleston and see the sights, but I did talk to people. I had lunch, I had coffee, I met some agents with whom I'm going to work with, hopefully in the future from different areas in the country. I will go to Denver, Colorado for the Compass National Convention retreat, as we call. So this is on my list. And then, of course, I want to stop and really focus on my clients, my past clients. I mean, I do keep in touch with them. Again, I don't put them on a CRM. I don't plan on putting on a CRM, but spoiling them as much as I can because I think it's extremely important. This is something I love. The convention is not my thing, but showing my clients how much I appreciate the trust is something that is dear to I love doing. It's dear to my heart, and I plan on really focusing on that. And then, of course, plans for family, for my life. I need to work a little less and, be quiet. I love working, but I do understand I need some time for myself and for my family.
It certainly seems like 2024 was a year of transition. So maybe that will continue for some in 2025, or maybe you're passing through that transition already, or maybe you're just about to start a new one. Either way, the right agent matters. You need a good broker in the process and in the transaction. Resale versus new construction this year. Which one have you liked more?
I'm not going to lie that in 2024, I had some hiccups with new construction and some disappointments, some things that and I hate when my clients are not happy. So different builders, nothing major, nothing, but nothing that I had before. So, and I don't know how much I can do about it because it was not about the transaction. It's about the builder, the superintendent in certain neighborhoods. And I'm telling my clients the same thing, same builder, 3, 4, 5 different neighborhoods. 4 are amazing. 1 was not the best. So I was a little disappointed with that. And I've had conversations with management about this. Like, I understand you are building in a large scale, but you have to be careful and treat the clients well. This is how you make the money. So, but I still believe in new construction. I still think it's a great thing because even though there were some hiccups and some issues that I had never seen before, it's under warranty. So it's a headache that I wish my clients didn't have, but it's been fixed and it's been taken care of. It's just the added headache that I wish they didn't have. But I still love new construction. I still think it's a great option. And I don't see that changing ever. I love resale as well, but I think for many people, new construction is the way to go.
Are you finding it because of inventory, right? Harder or easier to manage now at the end of 2024, where all these new subdivisions are? Because some are popping up in the middle of nowhere, it seems like now, because they're having to go farther and farther out. What's that been like in hunting and finding those new construction neighborhoods?
It's hard because, I mean, I train my clients well, so it's fun when I have buyers looking for stuff because they go around and they send me pictures. So because many builders are not putting stuff on MLS, so it kind of limits how much. Because of course I can't drive everywhere, even though I drive a lot to many places. There are streets and areas, so I wish they would help us help them more. I see some builders complaining that they have inventory that they have to. But then they don't put the stuff on MLS. So how agents can help you if you're not working with us, right? If you're hiding your neighborhood from agents by not putting your things on MLS, like why are you complaining you have houses that are not selling and inventory that you have to let go of? So I hope this changes and they let us help them sell the houses.
Who knows what's afoot in 2025, but we'll find out because we've come to the end of the year.
Yes.
And here we go. Onward to a new year. Whatever you're doing for New Year's, we hope you have a wonderful time with your family and friends and loved ones that you're going to spend time with. Be safe on New Year's, as always. Looking forward to seeing you in 2025. That's where we put the month first, which will be a 1, and then the day of that month, and then the year. And that's how we'll do it next year.
Happy New Year, my favorite holiday.
Happy New Year.